Galaxy Z Fold 6 is probably one of my favorite foldables this year, and not because of Samsung's software, but more so on, how Samsung managed to refine its hardware and took everything that they did on the Z Fold 5, but elevated it just a little bit. Now, the question is newer always better? And if so, is this new Fold really worth it? Well, I spent a month with Samsung's new Fold, so let's talk about it. All right, so just like any of my reviews on this channel, let's get a refresher on its specs real quick. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 uses the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, which is basically like an overclocked version of the 8 Gen 3. Now, we've seen this in the S24 Ultra, and of course it's here on the Fold. But anyways, this unit I have has 256 gigs of storage, but you can also spec this up to 1 terabyte if you'd like. And the Z Fold 6 also comes with 12 gigs of RAM as standard. In terms of battery, it has a 4400 milliamp hour battery, which is unchanged from last year. The outer display on the Z Fold 6 also looks the same as last year's, but in reality, it's actually just a little bit wider, and the overall phone is just a tiny bit shorter, but with thinner bezels, which somewhat results in a slightly bigger display on both the cover and inner display. Both the displays are also a lot brighter this time around too, with a peak brightness of 2600 nits, which is perfect for outdoor use. And then when it comes to the crease in my opinion has gotten better over the years. It's ever so slightly less noticeable here, but it's still nowhere near what OnePlus, Oppo, and Xiaomi has been able to offer on their foldables. Now, the Z Fold 6 also comes in a few different colors, which are pretty nice actually. Now, my favorite out of the bunch is this new pink color, which I've been using for the past month, and pink seems to be the trend this year with smartphones. Check out Google's new Pixel 9 and 9 Pro and this Fold 6. But I will say the pink that Samsung's using for their Fold is kind of a pastel or a bit pale than usual. And if you want your Z Fold 6 to be a little bit more saturated, check out channel sponsor Dbrand and pick up their off pink skin, which in person looks more saturated than Samsung's own pink color, and it looks better in my opinion. It also has this nice grippy texture to it. Now, Dbrand makes the best and most precise skins on planet Earth, so if you're looking to spice up your new phone and you're not really a case person, these skins from Dbrand are the way to go. Now, Dbrand also offers a glass screen protector, which you can bundle with their skins so you can protect that cover display when you've got your phone propped up as a tripod to take photos using the back cameras. So if you guys want to make your Z Fold 6 more unique, check out the other skins from Dbrand and make sure to use the first link down below or go to dbrand.com/heymarkel. All right, now that we're caught up on its specs, how's it been using the Z Fold 6? I think the lighter weight and the more squared off design really looks awesome and feels great in hand. It's a lot blockier than previous Folds, so using this phone one-handed feels better in my opinion. Now, the outer display is kind of a love or hate thing. Sometimes I love it for how narrow it is, so one-handed use is pretty much doable here, but then sometimes I hate it because of how narrow it is. Unlike the OnePlus Open or the Pixel Fold, I find myself using the inside display a little bit more versus the outside. But yeah, it really depends on whether or not I'm feeling like I need to use 2 apps open at once, or I'm just casually scrolling on social or replying to emails or messages. Now, what I love about this new Z Fold though is that it has a much brighter display than last year. It's not that last year's was bad or too dim, it's just, sometimes I want a brighter display, especially if I'm watching videos or I'm playing games on this phone. Now, the crease, like I said earlier, is still visible in certain angles, but I think foldables from other OEMs are better, but Samsung's definitely catching up. And then when it comes to performance and battery life, it's the same processor used on the S24 Ultra that we've seen earlier this year. And like I said in my S24 Ultra review, that processor is a beast. This can pretty much handle anything and everything you throw at it, whether you're multitasking, playing a ton of games, or using Samsung's DeX. It's a very capable processor that won't slow down anytime soon. And now when it comes to battery, I found that the Z Fold 6 was actually pretty terrible the first couple of weeks of me using it. I think it's just because, I'm on it more and I'm setting up the phone as I test it out. But after the 3rd week and that month hit, it totally got better. And typically I'm not a super heavy user or multitasker, and more often than not, I'm on a foldable. I'm mostly just watching videos or playing games. I'd play about 30 to 45 minutes a few times a week, and battery would only really drop to about 10% depending on the game, which is pretty good considering I'm playing on a massive display. But on average, I'm probably at about 40% battery by the end of the day at around 11 p.m. But again, like I say in my other reviews, how you use your phone could be a lot different than how I use mine. So please take my testing with a grain of salt, and you might be able to end your day with about 50% or maybe 20%. It's really up to you and what you do on your phone. But for me, it's been great, and I've been testing this on both AT&T and T-Mobile's 5G network, which has been flawless for me. Now on to software. So with all the latest updates installed, nothing really changed from the initial launch period. No major camera improvements or general software changes since the phone launch. But I will say, if you are in the US and you do have a chance to get an unlocked Z Fold 6, I would highly advise you do that, because carriers are still preloading bloatware on phones, which sucks, but at least this year's Z Fold 6 wasn't as bad as last year's Z Fold 5 on AT&T, which was riddled with so many pre-installed software, and the software update actually has to go through AT&T's walled garden first before you can update the phone. So if you get an unlocked version, you'll get your updates right away from Samsung directly, which is definitely the way to go. But yeah, going back to the overall software experience though, I think Samsung still offers the best and cleanest setups for a foldable, which makes sense. This is their 6th version of the Fold. Now, I do have to mention a little bit about AI here, just because most companies nowadays are focusing on AI, and Galaxy AI is actually pretty neat. Although I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it on a daily basis. I do love some of the photo AI stuff, like turning selfies or photos of people into different portrait styles. The sketch to generate a new image is also pretty neat. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy using this to reimagine what a photo is. And there's also interpreter mode, which is definitely going to come in handy when I'm going on international trips. There's a ton more AI stuff that you can definitely take advantage of, and Samsung made it pretty easy to access all those features in the settings. Now, before we talk about the cameras, you're probably going to ask what icon pack I'm using for my Z Fold 6 and how I'm able to customize my icons. And this is basically thanks to 2 apps. First, the icon pack is called Nova Dark, and you can download this from the Play Store, and I'll try to leave that link down below. This is my go-to icon pack on Android. It's clean, minimal. I love the dark icon look. And to customize the icons using the stock Samsung launcher, you're gonna have to download GoodLock and install Theme Park from GoodLock. And you can actually find GoodLock in the Galaxy Store. With this installed, you can use just about every icon pack that you can download from the Play Store, and you can apply those using Theme Park. Now, you can also mix and match icons from different icon packs, but you'll just have to create a new theme every time you want to make those changes, which is a little bit cumbersome, but this is the best way to do it if you want to use the stock Samsung launcher. Okay, so let's talk cameras. Now, as you guys know, the Z Fold 6 has a total of 5 cameras, but we're gonna be focusing on the triple camera setup here on the back, because why use the tiny sensors on those selfie cameras when we have very capable cameras on the back? Now, we didn't really see any major changes to the cameras this year, but let's talk about it. So yeah, the triple camera setup on the back didn't really change here compared to last year's Z Fold 5. The only thing that really got an upgrade here is the ultra wide, which is now an upgraded 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, which I believe is the same sensor on the S24 and S24 Plus. Everything else about the camera though are the same. We have a 50 megapixel main camera as well as a 3x 10 megapixel telephoto camera. Now, one thing I wish Samsung did on the cameras for the Fold is to up the megapixel count on the ultra wide and telephoto. While the triple camera setup on the Z Fold 6 is fine, it would have been nice to see a triple 50 megapixel camera rather than, rehashing what we've already seen. So in everyday normal conditions, outdoors, the Z Fold 6, no matter which focal length you choose, looks pretty good. Although I noticed they can be a bit saturated, so colors will, really pop, and it's got this contrasty look to it. Some shots will tend to look a little bit over-processed, maybe a bit of over-sharpening here and there, but day-to-day, the photos out of the Z Fold 6 looks really good. Now, in not so great lighting, I feel like photo performance could be better. I feel like I'm noticing a little bit of smudging, especially in very dark environments. But besides that, I think white balance is pretty solid and very true to life. But there's still definitely some slight over-processing happening here. Now, with this being a foldable, you can also prop up your phone in a ton of different ways, and you can also use the cover display as your viewfinder and use all 3 focal lengths if you want to take better looking selfies, which is awesome. And then when it comes to video, it's about what you'd expect from a foldable device. It's good, but not all that great. I don't think the Z Fold 6 would be my, first smartphone of choice if I want to record a video, But if you're a Samsung fan and want the best of the best camera, then I'd choose the S24 Ultra over the Z Fold 6. But if cameras really aren't that important, then the Z Fold 6 is more than fine for taking photos and videos to send to family or friends. But yeah, that's the Z Fold 6 in a nutshell. From the outside, it doesn't seem like too much of an upgrade over the Z Fold 5, but once you feel both in your hands, the more squared off design, the slightly lighter chassis, the brighter display is a really nice upgrade over last year's Z Fold 5. If you're in the US and you have a Z Fold 4, for example, or even a Z Fold 5, and you're debating on upgrading to the Z Fold 6, take a look at Samsung's trade-in program. Depending when you're watching this video, the deals could be, a lot different, but as of right now, I can trade in a Z Fold 4 for $1,000 or a Z Fold 5 for $1,200, and with that, I can get a 512 gig storage Z Fold 6 in select colors for $900 with that Fold 4 trade-in, or $700 for that Fold 5 trade-in. Now, I think if you have a Z Fold 4 or you want to get into your first foldable now, I would seriously take advantage of that trade-in deal. The Z Fold 6 is an amazing upgrade over older Samsung Folds. The more powerful and efficient processor is noticeable, the new boxy design that's lighter is noticeable, the brighter display is noticeable, and the overall experience is just something you gotta try out for yourself. But if you want to shop around and look at other foldables like ones from Google, Xiaomi, or Honor, I wouldn't blame you. Foldables are getting really good now, and some can even get as thin as a regular flagship smartphone. But as far as pricing goes, they're still more expensive, than your traditional flagship. That's why I think the trade-in deals for Samsung is something most people shouldn't pass up on if you're ready to upgrade to a Fold. Anyways, that's been it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.